It's given me a big wave.
World Snooker Champion, John Higgins!
Hello, welcome to the middle Saturday of this year's Dafabet World Snooker Championship. Hard to believe we're approaching the halfway stage, and yet in terms of the drama, we're very much still embroiled in the heart of the last 16 meetings. One result from there last night, and this guy did the winning interview. We'll talk about that just in a second, but Ivan, what have you made of the championship so far? There have been some really, really intriguing matches.
Yeah, I mean, we started off so well with those four matches going 10-9 within a couple of days at the start. And we've got a good mixture because we had a couple of big shocks in the first round, particularly Michael Wosley. But now we're seeing the bigger names kind of getting through. So it's building up to be a really exciting second week.
So last night we were securing the services of our first player into the quarterfinals. It was Mark Selby against Ali Carter. Selby had an early advantage. Ali Carter was digging in a couple of times throughout both sessions, but a good win for Mark Selby in the end. And actually, coming off the back of such a difficult season for Ali, the way things got underway with his cancer, he can't be too disappointed and should be proud of the season he's had overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, obviously with the health problems that he had at the time, for him to get back into the top 16, then he got to the semi-finals in China, and he's got to the second round here and lost to Mark Selby, who was playing very well. I think Ali can look back with a great satisfaction on the season and look forward to next season. Okay,
so you did the interview with him last night. Here it is, Mark Selby talking to Ivan, head of our press, don't forget, after the match and after the press conference last night.
The first man into the quarterfinals here at the Crucible, how does it feel?
Yeah, it feels great. Tough game against Ali. I knew it was going to be from the start. He's one of the top players in the world right now. So, yeah, I'm more relieved than anything else. I mean, I'd have liked to have got over the line a little bit better. But at the end of the day, I got to 13, which was the aim at the start of the match.
Ali said he thought it was probably the best you'd played in recent months. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, as stupid as it sounds, I know I've been getting to a few finals, but I've not played fantastic snooker. I've just seemed to grind my way there. And even like playing during the matches, I've not felt that confident. Where coming here, I don't know, I've just seemed to work hard on my game the last few weeks, obviously leading up to the World Championships. And I've come here with a different outlook, and I feel a lot better and a lot more confident.
You've not had your best season so far, but you could save the best for last, couldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, obviously this is one everyone wants to win, and I'm still in it and I've still got a chance.
What are you going to do now before your next match?
I'll go back home for a few days now, obviously spend a little bit of time with Vicky. Hopefully our family will probably come down for the weekend, so just relax really. I'll probably still go to the club, but not really put too much practice in, obviously try and save as much energy as possible.
Do you think that's important to not kind of burn yourself out through practice while you're playing in a tournament?
Yeah, definitely, because I mean, if I was staying here and not going back home, I'd probably only have 2.5 hours a day anyway, so I don't want to go back home and practice for hours and hours. But I'll still go to the club and probably play just for an hour or something, just to keep my arm in, and then come back up here Monday afternoon.
Thanks, Mark. Good luck in the next round.
So Mark Selby safely through to the quarterfinals, the first player to reach the last 8 of this year's tournament. And Ivan, quite sensible, I guess, if the draw pans out that way, that you have an opportunity to step away from the cauldron and the spotlight here, and you go back to doing what you do in practice. So quite a good move for him to be able to go home.
Yeah, he decided to stay up here after his first round match for 2 or 3 days, but now he's obviously taken the decision, go home for a couple of days, see his wife, do a bit of practice, and then come back up fresh. So yeah, the draw's panned out nicely for Selby in terms of the gaps he's had between his matches. But obviously, from now on, if you're going to win it, you're playing every day, so you won't be able to do that again.
Well, he certainly will be more rested than his opponent. At the moment, we have Alan Mcmanus against Ken Doherty. They're in play at the moment, trying to catch up on a frame they didn't get the chance to play yesterday. Alan Mcmanus leads 10 frames to 4, and Selby, no disrespect to the two greats flourishing into their 40s, Selby will be the favourite for that match, not just on what he's done this season, but because Ken and Alan will play to a conclusion tonight, and they'll have less rest time before coming back out to face Mark, whoever wins and gets through to the quarterfinal.
That's true, although they would have Sunday and Monday before going into the quarterfinals on Tuesday. If it is Mcmanus, which looks likely now, I mean, that will be a really interesting tactical, for Selby, probably the best safety player in the game. Mcmanus, very, very strong in that department as well. So, I think if it is Mcmanus, he'll give Selby a real test.
And it's brilliant from a journalistic perspective that we do have Ken and Alan, and obviously therefore one of them, into the quarterfinals, because it just shows it's not always about the next generation of players. You know, you could argue, if you're harsh, that the draw's been kind to them, but they both had to come through world-class opposition in the first round. Ken beating Bingham and then Alan beating John Higgins, the four-time champion here. Brilliant that the old boys can still turn it on.
Yeah, it's a really intriguing match, and actually I felt a little bit sorry for them in this morning session because they were playing at the same time as O'Sullivan and Perry on the other tables. Everybody more or less would have been watching the O'Sullivan match. But yeah, you know, I think in recent years we've seen the likes of Mark Davis, you know, Stuart Bingham, Barry Hawkins, Joe Perry, guys in their sort of late 30s, even early 40s, doing really well, and Doherty and Mcmanus as well. And it just shows that snooker is a game where you can continue to enjoy success well into your 40s.
Well, you've mentioned Joe Perry there and the Ronnie O'Sullivan match. Well, we're just about recovering from the drama of that one. Remember, Joe Perry started with an advantage. He was 9-7 up. It was an incredible match. A real rare show of emotion there from Ronnie O'Sullivan, closing it out 13-11. That's one of the best second round matches for drama that we've seen here in recent years. It was a treat to watch.
Yeah, it was very, very exciting because you didn't know. You know, when Perry was 11-9 up, you really didn't know which way it was going to go. You know, O'Sullivan did look vulnerable, and it's definitely the toughest match that he's had here in the last 3 years. But I think what O'Sullivan showed there, when it really meant something, he was able to produce his best snooker of the match. And I think that's something which separates the true greats like Hendry, Davis, Higgins and O'Sullivan. When it really, really matters, they produce their best. You know, back-to-back centuries to win the last 2 frames. That's what separates them from all the rest.
And you can see how he's matured as a player, because maybe a few years ago, under the same kind of pressure that Joe Perry exerted right from the start of the match, from 1-1, Ronnie then wasn't ahead until he went to 12-11 and then won the match. A few years ago, he might not have had the maturity to mount that kind of comeback.
Yeah, and you know, you did a very good interview with him afterwards, where when you asked that question, he immediately spoke about Dr. Steve Peters, the psychiatrist, who's helped him so much over the last 2 years. You know, the mind boggles if you wonder what might have happened if O'Sullivan had met Peters 20 years ago. You know, how much he might have won by now. But you know, and Peters has obviously worked with a lot of other sportsmen like Chris Hoy. He's working with Liverpool FC now, who are doing so well. He's going to be working with England in the World Cup. And Ronnie, I think he's what Steve Peters does for him is he gives him that feeling when he goes into the arena of confidence and assuredness, and snooker is, you know, is not the be all and end all, and it gives him that freedom to go out there and play his best, which is what he really did in that final session.
Great little mention there from the Liverpool fan. He had to slip that one in there, hoping that that the Reds take the Premier League title. Well, we've talked about the interview. Here it is. I spoke to Ronnie after that 13-11 epic against Joe Perry. Well, what an enthralling match to watch. Ronnie, great composure there to come through a very, very tough second round encounter.
Yeah, you know, Joe played his part in a great match. You know, he's had a great season, and you know, I'm just relieved to have come through. So yeah, just still pleased to be in it.
Do you think a few years ago you may not have had the mental resolve to come through a tight one like that, where he put you under pressure right from the start?
Absolutely, yeah. No, there's no way in a million years I'd have won that match. I lost so many matches there where people hit form and I wasn't quite on it, and I just kind of think, you know, like I'm just going to be struggling to hold on to him, and I'd give up before I'd even really, you know, started really. So I've learnt not to do that now. So that was probably the difference. You know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago he would have definitely come out victorious in that match.
Great for the crowd to see some fist pumps at the end before you came off. So, you know, it's good for them to know the game still means so much to you.
Been watching you know, all the enthusiasm you show, you know, it's kind of infectious. But no, yeah, no, it's just, that was like a winning a, you know, that's as hard and as close and as, you know, excited as you're ever going to get. You know, a tense match coming from behind at the Crucible. You know, it doesn't get any more tense than that, you know.
Any preference, Sean or Marco, or you're just happy to still be in the mix?
I'm just happy to be in, mate. You know, I'll sit back now and watch them fight it out, and you know, I'm just happy to still be here.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ronnie.
Cheers, thank you.
Great to see a little bit of emotion coming out of Ronnie. Let's speak in a moment about the potential matchup with Sean Murphy or Marco Fu for him. We should finish off really by mentioning what a great part Joe Perry played in that match, because with the best will in the world, before it started, even though he's back up into the world's top 16, nobody would have given him a chance, and he very, very nearly pulled it off.
Yeah, and I don't think Joe will be disappointed. Obviously, be disappointed to lose, but I think he'll look back on that and say he didn't do a lot wrong. I think from the very start he was determined not to let O'Sullivan intimidate him. His body language was very positive. He tried to, own the arena in the way that O'Sullivan can sometimes do. And obviously, going into that mid-session interval at 11-9, he looked pretty strong. He was unlucky at 11-10 up when he, on a break of 42, went into a little cluster of reds. The cue ball went in off. Looking back, that was the turning point. But then there was very little he could do after that. O'Sullivan cleared up 11-0 and then made back-to-back centuries. So I think Perry will look back on that when he's got over the disappointment of losing and think, yeah, I really went toe-to-toe with him for a long time, and I think that will stand him in good stead going forward.
What about Ronnie's aspirations for a hat-trick? Obviously 6 overall, but 3 in a row. I mean, to come through a match that required so much mental determination and stamina, he'll fancy it, whether it's Sean Murphy or Marco Fu. It'll be a great match, whoever comes out of their last 16 match, but his confidence will grow as a result of the manner in which he was able to turn that round against Joe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was genuinely worried, that he could have been knocked out there, came from behind to win it in a close match, and now goes back to 0-0 at the start of the next one, and like you say, he'll be full of confidence now. It'll be a tough game against either Murphy or Fu. I think Fu had a very good record against O'Sullivan at one point. I think he won 8 of their first 15 meetings, although I think since then O'Sullivan's won the last 6. Or if he plays Murphy, obviously that'll be a tough game as well. But yeah, Ronnie will be feeling pretty good now.
Well, he gets a couple of days to sit and watch the match, which he said he would do, and he said that last 16 encounter between Sean and Marco is arguably one of the toughest fixtures in the second round. So he'll be watching that carefully, as will we, of course. So we've been talking about Ronnie O'Sullivan, a 5-time world champion, hoping, and he's still in it, to become a 6-time world champion. Well, someone else who knows a thing or two about winning multiple world titles is the highly decorated, highly respected PDC multiple darts world champion. Barry Hearn will sack me for that comment. It is, of course, Phil the Power Taylor, who has a love affair with snooker as well as darts.
I'm a massive fan of snooker, love snooker, always love snooker, love playing snooker. I have to not play snooker because I'm in there too long. I've gone snooker sometimes at like 11 o'clock in the morning and come out at 11 o'clock the next day. I mean, during the 70s and 80s, snooker was getting bigger and bigger and bigger then. Steve had broke through, which made the game, well, people said he was boring, but I liked him. I love winners in the sport. I love Steve Andrew the same when he came through, when he broke through. He was dominating, and I just loved it. I love the thinking of the shots. I try and think of the shots, and then sometimes the players, Steve Davis would do a shot and thinking, I never thought of that. I never thought of screwing off that cushion there and doing that. I mean, I love that type of thing, what makes the game. It's like chess. My highest break was 64, and then I shoot like a leaf, trust me. Now, I missed the easiest pot you've ever seen in your life, on a red, I think it was. Absolutely utmost respect for these lads when they're knocking 147s in, and over 100 breaks, fantastic, If I'd have practiced more, I could have got better. I would never have been as good. I've got the confidence, and I think I've got the hand and eye coordination, but would I be as good as some of these lads? Nah. All of them. I know them all. They've all got my phone number. Mark Williams, he texts me a lot. He's a good lad. I've been to Crucible. Yeah, I've been to Crucible a few times. There, watched Ronnie won it last year. Loved it. Went after dinner party with him after. It was great. Nice to see him, actually. Nice to see him win. How does the Crucible compare with the Alexandra Palace? That's a good question. In the final, very similar. I mean, I've been to the semis and I've been to last 8s and the last 16s. I mean, it doesn't compare then. But during the final, it does. It's a smaller crowd, obviously. It's a different arena altogether. But the atmosphere you could cut with a knife. It's very tinderboxy, and everybody's excited because it's the final. So it's very, very similar to the Ali Pali, that is. Who do I think will win the Crucible this year? I think the one to watch this year is going to be John Higgins. I think he's going to be a grinder. I think he's setting his whole season up on winning the World Championship. I think he's just been on the back boiler. I think he's a little sneaky fella. I know John very, very well. He used to be, obviously, sponsored with me. Ronnie's going to be a force. I think everybody's going to be scared of Ronnie. But because he's played in more tournaments, I don't think they'll be as frightened of him this time. I think Ronnie last year was a different player because nobody knew what Ronnie was going to do. He'd had a break. He hadn't been doing his travelling. Obviously, he'd been practising. But this year he's odds-on favourite. So it might affect Ronnie different. It all depends on his mindset. It really does. If he goes in there, couldn't care less, he'll just go bump, bump, bump and wipe the floor with everybody. You know, Mark Selby's another player who's a very, very confident player. You know, watch him as well. I forgot Mark. But Ronnie, all depends on how Ronnie feels. So whether the pressure gets to him a little bit, I mean, he is a very, very confident player. Sometimes if he's in the background.
How do you deal with the pressure?
How do you deal with pressure? You either do or you don't. These tournaments when I've played over the years where the pressure, not felt it, just gone straight through, won it, lovely. Another time I've got beat first round and felt awful. Felt like I've never thrown a dart in my life. It all depends on the day, it really does. You know, you get up in the morning, you feel like $1 million and you know you're going to win. Another time you're thinking, oh no, you know, you don't perform. Will I find time to go to the Crucible this year? I hope so, because I do love it. Hopefully I can get to the final. You know, where Barry charged me for the ticket, by the way. He did. It cost me something like £1,000 for 2 tickets. But that was for charity. So I bought the tickets for charity. So I don't mind that. But I hope so, yeah.
Well, I can't believe the Power was forced to buy a ticket. Obviously the money went to charity. Outrageous for a 16-time world champion.
He can afford it.
Okay, Ivan, the action gets underway once again very, very soon. The next match to come to a conclusion is Ricky Walden against Barry Hawkins, a rerun of a fascinating semi-final last year where it took Barry, the eventual winner, a little while to get moving. Well, Ricky has taken his time to get into this match, but he leads 9-7 and that could go very, very tight.
Yeah, I mean, it's Barry, I think, took the first 3 frames and then he was looking good yesterday. I think it was 5-4 up, and then Ricky produced a real golden spell, won 5 frames in a row to go 9-5 ahead. But then Barry came back into it, won the last 2 frames. So 9-7, it's really in the balance. I seem to remember in the semi-final last year, Ricky was, I think he was 12-8 ahead. Barry came back to win 17-14. There's nothing in it between those two. You know, they're both really, really rock solid players, and it could go very close.
The other match to get underway is the start of the encounter between Judd Trump and Ryan Day, and Trump will absolutely have to play better than he did against Tom Ford in the first round, or Day will have a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think Judd would probably admit that he was probably quite lucky to come through that. I mean, I think Ford came back from 60 down to 8 each, did the hard work, but then just made too many mistakes in the last 2 frames. Judd's been back to Romford, he's put a new tip on his cue. He's been having problems with his tip, so you know that can be a problem sometimes. Sometimes it takes weeks or days or even weeks to bed a new tip in. So he'll just hope that he's got it right, and he'll hope to play better than he did in his first game.
Okay, thanks very much, Ivan. We will be catching up with you later on in the tournament. We are only at the halfway stage. It's his second appearance on the show. Play gets underway in around about an hour's time. So it's Judd Trump against Ryan Day, and it's the conclusion of Barry Hawkins against Ricky Walden, and a match that's just come off the table, but we'll conclude tonight. Ken Doherty has taken the last 2 of the session against Alan Mcmanus, so the Angles will take a 10-5 lead into their concluding session, which will be tonight at 7 o'clock. Loads more snooker to come, but from us for now, bye-bye.
World snooker champion, John Higgins.